All right, welcome to another Consultwebs webinar. This is Legal Marketing Nutrition Guide, Visualizing a Successful Law Firm Marketing Strategy. I'm Jake Sanders. I'm the content strategist here at Consultwebs. With me is Paul Julius, marketing manager.
Hey.
We're the hosts of the LAWsome Podcast. Brief story, I also worked as a marketing director for a personal injury law firm for about 3 years before coming to this gig. So a lot of the stuff we're going to cover today I've been thinking about for, about 5 or 6 years. And Consultwebs has given us a chance to kind of cover this in a kind of comprehensive way. But I'm pretty sure you're wondering what's in this for you. So I'm going to give you a couple of those right now. At the end of this, I want people to have a simplified metaphor to help think about marketing and kind of use nutrition as this lens to view marketing through. I want to focus on two main pillars of something that I'm calling legal marketing nutrition. It's brand growth and sales activation. And then at the end, I want everybody to utilize this tool that we've created to give themselves a chance to visualize their own marketing strategy and find ways to improve their marketing health. So, Paul, let's talk about the landscape of legal advertising and marketing and what kind of barriers people are facing just in general.
Indeed. And to any listeners of the podcast, this is all about statistics and numbers here, and that's my jam. So let's roll into it, Jake. There are 1.3 million lawyers in the United States. 34,000 new lawyers graduating law schools every year. $1 billion was spent in legal advertising last year.
With a B.
That's right, man. So the problem, the paradox of law firm marketing and advertising. You have to outpace competitors while growing a brand, but at the same time, you need to keep the lights on. Divert marketing resources away from long-term strategies in favor of short-term results.
And what other issues are impacting legal marketing success? We find that marketing is commonly misaligned with business goals. Maybe you're just, make it pretty or change the font. There's a failure to measure anything or clearly define success. Did you change the font enough? I guess would be who knows? There's too much focus on tactics, none on strategy. We've written about this on the blog. Tactics are a whole bunch of things you can do. Strategy is the way you use all those things. And this is sort of the genesis for legal marketing nutrition. Finally, one of the biggest problems is that there's no closed loop system that connects marketing to revenue. At my law firm, I was going crazy trying to connect the activity of digital marketing to leads, to calls. I was using call tracking metrics, trying to find everything, but I had to connect everything by hand. And came to find out that, typical for Consultwebs clients, there aren't dedicated staff that are helping close this loop. So that's a very common thing. So think of all that. All of that adds up to just questions, chaos. There's a million ways to employ marketing and advertising for a law firm. So without a strategy, complication, confusion, and ceaseless action are the guiding forces. It's like a QR code. Well, why don't we have a million of them? So we should focus on PPC this quarter. National Donut Day is coming up. What do we have? Guys, SEO, we have to be optimized. Are we optimized enough? I need our branded coasters to get more coasting. We need a newsletter. You know what? At the end, legal marketers are probably wondering, what should I do? How do I invest my money? They have a lot of questions, but the most important question comes from the law firm owners, the shareholders. They look at marketing and they're wondering, what am I even paying for? So the solution to all of this is something that we're calling the Legal Marketing Nutrition Guide. And that's the goal of building law firms that exist past their most recent advertising campaign. I want people to have a way to visualize a marketing strategy that balances brand growth and sales activation. You can see that on the right of your screen. Most legal marketing budgets are solely focused on and measured by short-term sales uplifts. So the science behind this is covered. There's short-termism happening across industries, not just in legal. it's been studied at length by some of the foremost marketing minds in marketing science. Les Binet, Peter Field, in their report called The Long and Short of It, they illustrated this short-termism in this graph here. You see the red line are sales activation, marketing activities that are solely dedicated to activating sales. And the green line is brand building, which are marketing activities that are dedicated to longer-term sales growth. So thinking of short-term and thinking of long-term, usually most marketers are only focused on the short-term sales uplifts. And the most important thing is this isn't just us saying this. We've asked, people on social media, asked lawyers, what do you guys think? Is it about a race? Is it about a marathon? Do you balance brand growth and sales? A lot of people are saying it's a race, but a fair amount of people were interested in the strategy, and that's where this comes from. So it got me thinking about inputs, energy, outputs, and teasing the concept of nutrition. And so we struck upon this metaphor of food. And so, think about it. There's so many options for food. Some are good, some are bad, but how could you decide what's optimal for you? So without a framework or guidelines, you wouldn't be able to figure this out. So the nutrition pyramid, which is now extant, I think it's been replaced by a plate, this helps guide your decisions so you don't look at a buffet and eat everything. You think through a lens of a way that you can conceive of the long-term benefits and the short-term rewards that you'll be getting from a buffet. It's hard to think that I'm going to tell you what to do. A lot of people say, you can't tell me what to eat. I'm going to eat what I want. You can live off Twinkies. You don't have to eat broccoli. But the real story is how long are you going to live? You can exist for it, but without a comprehensive understanding of nutrition, long-term longevity, stamina, energy outputs, demands, all these things that are common, principles in nutrition, you don't apply that to marketing, you're going to find yourself maybe, in a diabetic coma. So this legal marketing nutrition guide is our aim to help you guys visualize a robust law firm marketing strategy that builds a lasting legacy and fulfills the day-to-day demands. So Paul, let's walk through it, man.
Let's do this. What we're going to do is explain each level of the pyramid, and then at the end we'll show you how it all kind of goes together. And I really want to emphasize that this is, you can go back to that one, it's okay.
Sorry, brother.
This is an overview. We're definitely going to come, after we introduce this to everyone and everybody gets a chance to use the online resource, we're going to be going back and revisiting these different layers and discussing some of the more specific ways you can address it. But this is to give you kind of the big picture. So at the bottom of that pyramid is going to be foundations, right? You can have the flashiest ad campaign in the world, but if you don't have strong foundational marketing protocols in place, you're only going to experience the short-term lifts without that added benefit of long-term growth. Foundations are legal marketing practices that have to be in place before the fancier tactics get the phone to ring uncontrollably. So, is intake optimization something you focus on? Do you have call tracking in place, lead scoring, and opportunities to review calls with staff for training purposes? Do you have good client relationship management? Is there a good CRM system in place to connect to those intakes? Like Jake was saying before, you can get the calls, you can see the campaigns, but if you don't tie them together, you have no idea what worked and what didn't. Do you have a strong brand? Do you know do people know who you are? Are you measuring the client experience at your firm? This is foundational first, because all of your messaging, advertising, pain points, and case management issues can be discovered by a well-timed survey. And second, we hate to break it to you, but your law firm's brand isn't what you say about it. It's what your clients say about it. So these are just a few of the foundation marketing activities that, as part of a well-balanced legal marketing strategy, help grow your law firm's brand and revenue. And being on the bottom of the pyramid, this is what you've got to make sure this is done right.
And what the last point is that None of our Consultwebs services cover this. Like the foundation is something that you as a law firm owner have to have in place before digital advertising can really take hold. And that's sort of the principles that's great, because this is a foundation for us all to build upon. So that's the good point. So moving on.
Okay, so moving on. Now we're at nutrients. So once you start taking your legal marketing health seriously and you've embraced this idea of brand growth and that foundation of how you treat people and how people treat you and think of you and speak of you, you're ready to add some nutrients. So nutrients are legal marketing practices that connect that sales activity to the foundational health. So is your law firm's website distinct and responsive? Does it load fast? Is it designed for conversions? In regards to like link building and creating a strong SEO signal for that website so it rises in prominence over time, do you have a strategy? Are you reaching out to resources that maybe you could get an article published? Are you publishing stuff on LinkedIn? With highly engaged social media, will this authentically support brand growth and attract clients and potentially reduce digital ad spend for your law firm? So you'll never really know. And this is, you can see as we go up, we're going to start to add things that are thought of a little bit more of like a traditional advertising campaign. But, you know, this again, if you don't have a good website, if you don't have good citations, if you're not reaching out on social media, on some of these other steps higher up, when people start to check you out and look for some kind of validation, it's going to be a black hole. So that's why this has to be there.
Yes, sir.
All right. So here we go. And it may seem weird that we're actually on level 3 before we get to fundamentals. But like we said, there's some work you got to do in the background. You know, you got to get your foundation set before you start building your walls. So with the concepts of foundational brand health and marketing nutrients, we can begin diving into more complex advertising tactics focused on that sales activation. And again, if you remember Jake's big graph that had the arrow on the right-hand side, the further up we go, the more we're kind of leaning towards those sales activations. So fundamentals are legal marketing practices that are going to expand your law firm's influence and reach into your local online community. So for example, investment in a strong and steady PPC campaign on behalf of your law firm, and connect that to funnel content that drives clients to your website, qualify in and qualify out. It's a great example of a fundamental. As we begin to favor sales activities over that brand growth, legal marketers at this stage might start to think about outsourcing. So managed social media campaigns can help maintain a presence online to keep those signals flowing, but may lack some of the brand veracity of full engagement.
So moving onwards, headed towards sales activation. Complex campaigns is the next stop here. We've thought of these as legal marketing practices that are less about growing your brand and more about your law firm's perception in local offline communities. So event marketing, sponsorships, and scholarships are all great ways to connect with your local community and gain exposure. However, law firms that forego some of the critical brand benefits mentioned before, like a good CRM, strong web presence, that highly engaged social media, you won't have the digestive processes in place to take full advantage of campaigns. So a lot of people may discover that, oh, of course I'm doing marketing, but you're only doing certain events, but it isn't supported by social media. There isn't a way for you to capture the data, for you to create funnel content, for you to sign people up on a newsletter. So all of this builds on itself.
And Jake, just to touch on that real quick, do you remember that Bright Local survey we talked about on the show? Where they said that when people are making a decision, if they see a good review versus a bad review, and they're going to look at like something like 7 different sources. 7 different,
like it's not a triangulation, it's like a sevungulation.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, they're looking at 7 different places. So they're on Facebook, they're on Google, they're on and I mean that's foundational stuff right there. That's one of the fundamental levels is getting reviews, understanding your client experience. So that builds on all of this. Good point, man. Headed towards boosts. Now we're almost wholly focused on short-term results, temporary boosts or legal marketing practices and tactics, seeking to gain exposure, capture leads, and move on to the next campaign. So gated webinars, gated content, things that people have to foist over, information for, they can be very powerful marketing materials. Brand gifts. Everyone loves swag. Everyone has like a teddy bear or like, pens with their logo on it. It's always a hit. So if run efficiently, all of these things can work, but if you don't have a completely balanced marketing breakfast, these are going to leave no lasting impact. They're just going to kind of fade away. If you didn't have a strategy around your webinar, how you're going to follow up, how you're going to enter people into the CRM, how you're going to, push them towards landing pages, how are you going to retarget them with PPC, how are you going to, there's all of these amazing options at this point. If you don't have fundamentals in place, you won't be able to take advantage of. This is the last part, quick hits. This was the sugar. This was the top of the pyramid. And we kind of fought internally about how we were supposed to make this look, because if it's a pyramid, everybody wants to get to the top. And so we were like, well, maybe we don't want everybody to get to the top. My whole point is that this is just intense, energy demanding sales activity. It can be good. It can be bad. But the point is that this is a small part, and this is only focused on getting maximum exposure and getting focused on sales, direct response, and that's the goal here. So if you want to pay to get to the top of Google, you can set your money on fire and get there. If you want to buy a whole bunch of mailing lists, you can have 1,000 contacts in your email tomorrow morning. But using those, trying to create the next viral video, thinking that you have an ice bucket challenge in your pocket, the likeliness of these succeeding or failing are equally high. So if the quick hit works, it brings a rush of sales activity and wrongly becomes the template for future success. And if it doesn't work, sadly, it will be taken as another example of why advertising just doesn't work for your firm. Oh, we tried the viral video. It didn't work. We spent a ton of money and it didn't work. So most importantly, quick hits either have no lasting effect on your law firm's brand, or if utilized incorrectly, they can irreparably damage it.
Yeah, there is definitely an element of risk when you get to the top of that pyramid. And again, to go back to your Twinkie explanation, that's where that stuff would be. Sugar, saturated fat, all that stuff. That's at the top of the pyramid, because you shouldn't be doing that all the time. A little bit, a nice dessert every once in a while. Yeah, that's okay. But let's not go overboard,
Right.
So what do we do with all this? With the goal of helping law firms visualize and engineer this robust legal marketing strategy that's going to fulfill those day-to-day energy demands and build a lasting legacy, let's compare what's on the plate of two different hypothetical law firms. All right, so law firm A. This is pretty well balanced. Almost 70% of marketing activities are going toward brand growth, 30% dedicated to sales activation. Law firm B is almost solely focused on sales activation, with a very small portion of their marketing activities designated for brand growth. Now, considering all we just learned about legal marketing, health, nutrition, and brand longevity, which law firm would you view as the biggest threat? Because the truthful answer to that question should describe the law firm that you hope to build. And thankfully, Consultwebs can help get you there. And when looking at these different things, this is our resource that we've created. But I do want to, I'm going to kick this over to Jake, but I do want to say these things are very dependent on where your firm is as far as how much marketing have you done. So, Jake?
Yeah, well, and I think, are you a new firm? What are you looking for?
Mm-hmm.
How soon do you need to see results? These are all really great questions, but strategically something that isn't often talked about. And Consultwebs, we've just been talking about digital marketing tactics, and I don't think we've given our clients and potential clients an opportunity for them to think strategically, because it's a balance. I'm not saying that one of these is better than the other. And as lawyers love, the answer is it depends. but you have questions. How much are you spending on PPC or SEO? If the answer is none, then it's going to be easy. If your website's, is it optimized? Are you tracking calls? Do you have money invested in those things? How soon do you need to see these results? And what are your long-term goals? I mean, these are the questions that you have to figure out. And it's amazing because we've given you the opportunity to go here, consultwebs.com/nutrition-guide. You can fill out that, the investments, what you're dedicated towards, learn more in-depth examples of those tactics, and get a broader understanding on how you can start visualizing marketing, because it became so frustrating to me as a marketer that I wasn't sure what I was going to invest the law firm's money in, and our shareholders were constantly wondering what was the efficacy of it all. And if I had something like this nutrition metaphor to use, it would have made things easier. Maybe there could have been some more, some more potential for progress had we just decided to get on one page. And that's our hope, is that this is not the end all be all. This is the start of a conversation that you can have with us. We're always talking about this stuff on our podcast. We don't ever shut up, basically, about this stuff. But this is your chance to get some of those parameters in line, help think differently about marketing. And hopefully this metaphor works for you guys. And if there's any questions, then we're here right now. What if there are questions, let's open up the floor.
Absolutely. And I do think too, it's interesting to note, Jake, that this was created, you and I had that relationship when you were at the law firm. You were client side and I was at Consultwebs, at the vendor side. And a lot of these questions, and a lot of this stuff was created because we had a very difficult time, trying to meet in the middle so that, we could manage the campaigns well. You could explain the different goals, the different timelines to your shareholders, and keep us in line with that stuff. So this is a really great way to say, look, this is a shorter term sales activation thing. This is a foundational thing. These different bills.
Right.
And once you really start to split them up, and do that, it makes it a lot easier to start putting things in different buckets. This is SEO. We're going to do a PPC campaign. We're going to do a mass PPC campaign.
Yes, so, well said, homie. Yeah, but that's exactly right. And I think that's a key point, is figuring out direct response and brand building. There's two different types of advertising, two different types of marketing. A lot of people want to combine all of them. That your branded marketing asks people to save 10% right now with this discount code. That isn't how it works. You have to be direct, and you have to mix that with brand. And so you have to have that strong brand to create that creative connection that then, what isn't expressed in this earlier, I guess I can't go back. What isn't expressed in that short-term sales activation versus brand building is that the brand building keeps rising, but over time that helps the sales activation rise as well. Because if people know who you are, they're going to be more willing to spend or entertain an ad, or so it all works together in concert. It's something that we're teasing on, concepts that we're constantly talking about on our podcast with amazing lawyers of solo, smalls, mid-sized firms, legal tech professionals, marketing management, business development folks. I mean, we talk about this, and it's our hope that we can have a conversation with smarter legal marketers, and then that can help them grow their firms. And so, what?
Go ahead. I was just going to say, throw up that nutrition guide, the URL. If you can, that slide. There you go.
Yeah. So I would say, go ahead, Paul.
That's what I was going to say. Go. Consultwebs.com/nutrition-guide. You can fill it out, check it out, mess around with it, try different balancing, try different stuff, but try and be honest. And this is there. We're going to be following up with different things. Since there are no questions, we're going to give it a rest here. But if you do think of anything, please feel free to reach out with us. Reach out, get in touch at consultwebs.com. You can Jake and I. The podcast is on Twitter, so you can hit us there. Anyway, we're happy to talk about this stuff. We love talking about this stuff. And we're grateful for everybody attending.
And a sign off. Yes, I'm so grateful. This has been a long labor of love trying to get this metaphor together, trying to explain marketing in a way that maybe is useful. But I'm thankful for the opportunity. Consultwebs has been so generous with giving me and Paul the opportunity to do this. And so we're going to be emailing this recording out to everybody who registered. So keep an eye out for that in your emails. And until we meet again, we will see you on the podcast and in the funny papers and on the internet. And I'm Jake Sanders.
I'm Paul Julius.
And we'll see you next webinar.
Thanks, everyone.